And action.
Can't you do that later? I don't have all day, you know.
Sorry.
Why?
That's not your fault.
It was a repertory group is what it was, you know, and there's still some of them, but that's what it was. It was an oddball one, and I think what was very different was that we lived together and we would travel in packs, basically. And so there were some very funny times from that period.
The current apartment that John was residing in became Dreamland.
Do you have anything to say on the grounds of juvenile delinquency?
I love to meet juvenile delinquents. I have them as house guests a lot.
The factory was in New York. Dreamland was here. But Dreamland always has been and always will be, in our minds, what our movies are about. You can't be pretentious and live in Baltimore. We opted to stay in Baltimore to make movies because it's cheaper, and the best way to make movies is to use your own money, and then you really do learn rather quickly. The core of John Waters' crew are still the people that started out with him back before Pink Flamingos, before Mondo Trasho. And I've been with John Waters since his first film. Well, I met John when he was 17. And since then, we've been on the phone at least 10 times a day ever since. So I guess that would be a best friend. I think we were drawn together because we shared that common bond of that kind of edgy humor and black humor and gallows humor. John's sense of humor, certainly from the time he was 17, it was always there. He was always a kind of a very witty kid. I always blame it on the fact that John was a premature baby and weighed about, I don't know, a pound, and they had to do a lot of oxygen. So I figured that was where he went amok from the rest of his family, was that, but that's where I trace it back to that day.
I met the whole Dreamland crew at once. A friend had brought them over to my house, which was down in the bad part of the docks of Baltimore, where a bunch of artists live, and I lived with 8 artists in this huge house. And one day, Susan Lowe, who played in a lot of John's films, came in with Divine, Mink, Bonnie, David Lochary, and John. And even to me, who was an artist bohemian, it was the strangest group of people. Mink had black lips and black fingernails, which I had never seen before. And John, huge, wide sunglasses. And of course, Divine was Divine.
I met Divine probably in around 1965. I had come to art school here. I was a painting major at the Maryland Institute, and we all happened to move into the same building. And we became friends. So I knew something about makeup, and I was interested in costume design.
Divine had a tough route when he grew up. He was an only child of a very loving family, but the kids used to beat him up every day after school because he was rather effete. And he found his niche with us because we didn't care. Divine actually lived in the same neighborhood that John lived in. And John kind of used to think, who is that creature, sort of. And then he was introduced by a girl who lives in the neighborhood that hung around with Divine, introduced them. And then John picked up his 8mm camera and kind of said, you want to be in this? And that was really how the whole thing happened. And it merely was, I think, a towel around his head and makeup of a female. That was kind of the beginnings of it. And Van invented the divinity part of it. I mean, because Van put the face on him. We met Edith when Fells Point was the docks, and she worked in a place called Pete's Hotel that's no longer there. It's all been gentrified.
Has being a star made your life easier?
Oh, it has made me a lot of friends. And it's made my life exciting.
Right. You don't miss Pete's too much, do you?
No, but Pete's, if it wasn't for Pete's, I wouldn't have met all my nice friends.
Right. And how do you feel about big nude movies?
Oh, it's sexy. It's sexy.
What's your address here?
726 South Broadway. And don't forget, y'all come down.
The prices are cheap, right, Edie?
Reasonable and a discount any time. Half price, babe.
And the Purple Heart looks like Hustlers compared to here, right?
Right, and Goodwill, too.
Right. Do you steal from Goodwill boxes?
Never.
Sign off.
Edith, one Thanksgiving I remember seeing Edith. I said, "Where are you going for Thanksgiving, Edie?" She said, "Oh, well," she said, "I'm going to go to my store," she said, "because, you know, the bums, they don't have nothing. I'll make some sandwiches for the bums, and I'll bring a couple loaves of bread for the pigeons." That was really what she was about. She was on the news because a local dentist had made her a set of real teeth. But what had happened to the teeth, she was sitting somewhere and they were in her pocketbook and somebody snatched her purse, and we never did know what happened to her teeth.
Are my teeth ready, Dr. Ryan?
Sure, Edie, today's a big day.
Oh, wow.
Have a seat right here. I've known Edie for a long time, I'd say at least 10 years. And I had told Edie that if she wanted me to, I would make 2 sets of dentures for her. John Waters didn't want to change the image of Edie the Egg Lady. So I made the first set of teeth so that Edie could go back to New York and make some new birthday cards and Easter cards. And I also felt that it would be good for her to have a functional set of teeth that she could chew and eat and wear comfortably.
Make me look younger, for one thing. And, kind of cute.
Yes, folks, this isn't any cheap X-rated movie or any fifth-rate porno play. This is the show you want. Lady Divine's Cavalcade of Perversions, the sleaziest show on earth. Not actors.
David was the first one of us that lived downtown. And he had this great hair and almost a British accent, although he was from Kearney. David was our leading man, Dreamland's leading man at the time. Also, I believe he was the resident hairdresser. David's impact was that of a lot of style. I think he told me one time he wanted to be the king of the world.
But I remember people really thinking that it was like autobiographical. That's how we actually were, which is ironic because most of us came from very conservative backgrounds.
We are former Catholics. I mean, think about that for a moment. If you know anything about Catholics, if you're Catholic or you've ever attended one of their shows, then you know. So that all played into it. Who do you know in your life that's a Catholic? And they're usually crackpots. Vincent was Catholic. Van's Episcopalian, which is the same thing, no sting. Divine, oddly enough, I think was Baptist.
Speed mark. Sound 48.
John as a director was wonderful because he would kind of give you the freedom to move about and do what you wanted, and then occasionally he'd throw in some kind of weird little things which would just sort of whet your appetite as an actor. I refer to him as your friendly Undertaker. With his little penciled mustache, and he's terrific. He's very bright, and he has a dark side, which is delicious. And I really respect him as a filmmaker because he writes, produces, and directs his own films, raises his own money, and I mean, he's not dictated to by that machine out in Hollywood.
Now 132.
Action.
Divine was an incredible person because when you put him in his work clothes, he was, sparks came out. But prior to that, he was like a big beached whale. He was very quiet and soft-spoken. It was polyester that made me think about using Divine in a film that my partner Alan Glasser and I were doing called Lust in the Dust. My concept was Divine in a Peckinpah film.
I think we were basically concerned, John and I, with just a real shock value. It was marginal people working on the fringes, you know, antisocial, everything. And Pink Flamingo's Divine in that movie is to make it as ridiculous, as baroque as possible, aggressive as can be. The dialogue, the look, the situations, the scenarios, everything are, you know, it's just pushed to the limit. And that's what he really wanted. Divine's makeup was difficult. It was very hard for anyone to do because of the proportions. He was never comfortable doing it by himself. When we say drag queen about Divine really, he was a character and he played different, you know, he was never interested in just being a drag queen like, you know, street drags are and that sort of thing. He did drag for movies, for shows. His funniest comment was, my favorite thing about drag is getting out of it. He did have beautiful eyes. He knew it. They were crystal blue. And when he was very thin, I know it sounds ridiculous and we've heard it a lot, but he did look like Elizabeth Taylor. At one point, after making, it was the end of Multiple Maniacs, John had been invited out to San Francisco by the Cockettes, and we all decided to go. And John said, you know, we should do something really outrageous for when stepping off the plane. So that's when the hair was shaved, the eyebrows were shaved off, and everything went into like kabuki form. It was a combination of B-movies and Vogue magazine. The makeup was extremely exaggerated. And when the dimension, the canvas became even larger, it really got exaggerated. It was very garish in the beginning. Sometimes, I mean, I would try to make him look like a hardened dyke. There were definite Oriental periods that I went through. Divine, it was like a painting to me at times. The looks changed throughout the years. We did like sort of half man, half woman at times, where one side of the face would be made up completely different than the other. We did the Miss World something, I forget what it was, but I blistered one side of his face completely with latex and scarred it.
Yummy, huh?
This is Divine at home with a bra and girdle. For some reason, has always been a fixation with John. I don't understand why, but he is obsessed by bras and girdles. Divine's breasts have been made out of many different things. The last ones were made out of foam rubber. For the simple reason that once, when traveling to San Francisco, we got the bright idea of I wanted the breast to actually move like women's breasts. So we made them out of lentils. And unfortunately, the lentils, when you compound them into, you know, large breasts, end up weighing a lot. And he literally almost had a stroke on the airplane. We had to take him off because he suddenly lost his breath. He couldn't breathe. He said it was like 200 pounds on top of him.
Sound
for.
Polyester was almost Divine's Mildred Pierce.
Mother, please, you know how cigarette smoke bothers my nose.
I can remember when I saw that one costume, the blue one that's in the accident scene, and the one that he and Tab run through the fields. And I looked at that and I said, Van, you will never get another job. That is the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
Polyester was John's first attempt at a greater audience. John has always spoken to me in terms of, I want a certain amount of realism. He said, but Dreamland's Way, which was the company that he started. So Divine was to look like a housewife, but a John Waters housewife. I mean, I had costumes that didn't even need coat hangers. They'd stand up by themselves. You walk into my dressing room, your eyes started to burn. There wasn't a natural piece of fabric in there. It was just all petroleum.
This is the first time we shot 35. We all felt that we were doing a step up from the underground films that we're doing, and we were trying to reach a much larger audience, a more normal audience than the underground audiences that we have strived for in the past. Polyester to me was when I first thought, wow, I'm really making a real movie. We still had to scrimp and save, and we always had to stay under budget because unlike normal films, you could not go over budget. There absolutely was no money. Polyester was our height of being technically beautiful lighting and real crews and real furniture sets. And the early films, we were just one-person departments.
This house is just like Architectural Digest.
Polyester didn't cost as much as it would cost a Hollywood Films Craft Services, which is the snack table, for 2 weeks. Our targets were the establishment. We thought Polyester was the film that looked the most normal. You had Divine's makeup, and you had Vincent's sets, and you had John's words, and all of that became almost a living cartoon. Polyester, we thought we were pretty straight in how it looked, but not hardly a great big macrame things. The edge was there, but the look was toned down because it was supposed to be that Divine was this person that lived in suburbia. So the house was a suburban house. It had a different look. It wasn't a trailer park and all that leopard skin and stuff, but we did it.
Thank God, my cab.
Polyester represented to me, I don't know if it will to the others, a step. That was another step of some sort or a level that we had achieved. I think Polyester's hysterical. We thought Polyester was a real movie. Well, it was for us. I mean, Tab Hunter was a movie star, and we had a real movie star in it. John used to drive everybody to work. He'd pick me up, he'd pick Divine up, he'd pick Tab up, and we'd all drive off to suburban Baltimore and do this. I mean, we didn't have Teamsters or any of that stuff. And I remember just thinking of like 5 o'clock in the morning after work, and I had to stop working because the light was coming up. Driving back in town, John, Divine, Tab, myself, and thinking, what's he doing here? Is he crazy? He was a movie star. Yes, he was a movie star. A genuine movie star. And he was in our car.
I literally just came in to do the work in this, and I was very pleased to do that too. Despite the fact that my agent said, don't tell people you did this. This is a cult film, and it's not good for your career. And he was planting all these negative seeds in my mind. I love to work, period. I've done a lot of films, and some are dreadful, some are not bad. I'm not here to win popularity contests. I have a life that's more important. In Polyester, there was nothing that shocked me. I felt a little strange kissing Divine, I've got to tell you that, but, once you get into the scene, you play the scene.
Through this nose comes some of life's most rewarding sensations, and we plan to share with you some of the most beautiful odors known to mankind.
And the gimmick, of course, we still had the gimmick due to the William Castle influence and whatever on John, but the gimmick of the Odorama card. Oddly enough, with the Odorama card, as a little bit of an aside, the UPS folks really got annoyed after a while and sort of said that we don't want to deliver these things, they stink up the trucks. Divine was exactly the same from the day I met him till the day he died. He was a very, very important part of my life. My life has certainly never been the same it was a big hunk of dreamland. Our leading lady croaked right on the heels of a big success for us. I have nothing but wonderful memories of Divine. It's still very painful for me to even kind of, to think back on that lifetime that we all had together and that innocence that we all had together.
Divine, I must tell you, I always thought really was beautiful. And I really mean that sincerely. What I miss most about Divine is his laughter, his unpredictability. Divine was a good friend of mine. Not only did I enjoy working with Divine because he cooperated beautifully, but Divine, Glenn, the person, Glenn Milstead, was also a real good friend of mine. We spent time together. We lived in New York, so I would see him. I also traveled with him a lot. The last time I saw Divine was at the end of, it was the cast party for Hairspray. He had written me about Married with Children. He was going to do a part on Married with Children and possibly it turning into something else. And he was very excited because finally it was like, you know, this mainstream that he had cracked. And he was very excited about that. And he had flown to Hollywood and was going to start rehearsal the next day, I think it was, and died that night.
Is it on the planet?
Planet Earth.
No, it is not. No.
I figured.
John's sister was a curator at the Baltimore Museum of Art. One of the high points of the career, when you have to realize how much heat his parents, all of our parents, took for our renegade lifestyle and these outrageous movies. All of a sudden one day you find yourself, all the people that gave his parents so much stuff and so many whispers. There's a retrospective of his work at the Baltimore Museum of Art. So that was sort of the last laugh on that. He took polyester to Cannes, but I didn't go, and he sent me a photograph of him outside the Carlton in front of a billboard for polyester. It's not the paparazzi, it's not the walk-in, it's not that. It's when you sit down and the lights go down, and all of a sudden, the snipe comes up, and it's Festival du Cannes, blah, 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 and there's your film, and your whole life of filmmaking goes right before your eyes. How did this happen? I am sitting at Cannes right now with a film. How did this happen? From Eat Your Makeup, how did this happen? And did he always know it would happen? Or did he ever know it was going to happen? I don't know the answer to that, really.